So recently I was winding down from a very stressful day. Okay, it wasn't stressful, it was just like a lot of socializing. So I decided to pop in a good feel cozy movie. And damn right, it was a horror movie, okay, of course, like what else? And the movie I decided on was Woman in the Yard. And I gotta say, I quite enjoyed it. Despite not having much of a penchant for like the slow burn variety, which this movie was, I just easily get distracted. If a story doesn't, especially in a movie, present itself within like 20 to 30 minutes, I'm just like, I am mentally clocked out. For video games, though, okay, this is a side tangent. Death Stranding 2, been getting really good reviews, and I'm kind of feeling that FOMO, that little itch. Never completed the first one. Got like 8 to 10 hours in, and I just immediately dropped it because the story was not kicking off. But apparently, I was at the moment when the story was about to kick off. So I need people in the comments to encourage me to give it one more go and stick it out because I don't know. I keep thinking about like, do I want to go through that again? Side tangent is over. Back to what the subject matter. Yeah, so this is a disclaimer as well because this movie and this video will be discussing mental health and self harm for anyone who just does not have the capacity to just listen to those conversations or to be open up to discussion. I completely understand. Skip this video entirely, and I hope to catch you in the next video. For now, just take care of yourself, get that nice, yummy bevy, and have yourself a day, okay? I love you. And naturally, when I really enjoy a movie or a show, I deep dive, as most of us do. I only do this after the fact, never before, because I love to keep my expectation neutral or very low to the point where no one's limbering underneath that goddamn bar. I just don't want to kind of get any influence from other people. And while watching a few YouTube videos and reviews, I was actually kind of like taken back the fact that some have stated their dislike or how the ending was very controversial. And of course, I know everyone has their own opinion, but it's just funny because like I didn't perceive it as such. Again, everyone has their own personal opinion and they see art through their own perspective, hence why art and entertainment is subjective. Before we begin, hi, my name is Chaotic Raven. I want to share my thoughts on the ending of Woman in the Yard, which will obviously have spoilers for those who haven't watched it yet. Please do enjoy the experience, formulate your own perspective. Just don't come here and tell me I'm wrong because it's my opinion. But I mean, if you want, I guess I can stop you if I'm doing that. So I'm going to talk about the plot first. So in the movie The Woman in the Yard, you follow the life of Ramona, played by Danielle Deadwyler. I believe I'm hoping I'm saying it right. Fantastic, fantastic performance and absolutely gorgeous. She's a distraught mother, riddled with grief after a sudden car tragedy claimed the life of her husband. Now alone with her two kids in a rural farmhouse miles away from the nearest populace. The height of the situation only worsens when some mysterious woman clad in black is just seen outside sitting in their front yard. That's literally what she's doing. She's just looking towards the house. Ramona's sadness quickly shifts to fear as a woman's existence, seemingly appearing from nowhere, utters a warning. Today's the day, bitch. Not that, but she says today's the day. Things start to unfold as a lady slowly appears closer and closer to the property, causing Ramona to resort to desperation and hopes of protecting her children. So, as the movie unfolds, it's revealed that the woman in the yard is a manifestation of Ramona's grief that has come to pretty much answer her prayers for strength, which is right in the beginning. Unfortunately, this form of strength is in the form of self harm. Of course, this kind of message is not uplifting and it does suck. We don't want the protagonist, after going through such a horrible ordeal, to succumb to self harm. However, it's not that simple. I personally believe that the woman represents more than just grief. There's so many layers to Ramona's pain that I kind of want to discuss. Thinking about like the last discussion Ramona has with her husband prior to the incident. She was stating her dislike in their new rural life. It seemed to me from that small little tidbit of information that Ramona obviously was an artist in the city, but the city life appeared to cause Ramona a tremendous amount of stress, according to her husband's perspective. Because sometimes the things we enjoy can still cause us a lot of stress, but doesn't necessarily mean we don't want it. Obviously, I do not know the entire extent of their previous situation because it wasn't exactly, extrapolated in the film, but this was just the beginning of the iceberg. So Ramona's intense emotions are already stirring. She moved away from a city that she clearly loved, where she probably had her family, colleagues, friends, connections, to a rural part of the country where neighbors are miles away. And that's honestly not an easy feat. I recently moved like 6 months ago across the country, away from family and friends, and it's been really hard. I've cried so many times. I felt alone despite knowing that my family and friends are a phone call away, which I'll wrap into this, by the way. But it was just like a huge shift to adjust. And thankfully, I am each day making that adjustment, and I'm feeling better as those days go on. So I totally understand her pain there. Then the next thing that happened adds more to the discourse. So she kind of like, I feel motivated by such intense emotion. She declares that she wants to leave the relationship and the family. Probably out of just, like I said, out of desperation and pain. I don't think that was what she actually wanted. Maybe it was, I don't know. But we, or the character, won't never really know because that was the last conversation they had, which is unfortunate to say the least. Because I'm sure that this situation could, given time and understanding, been been given a compromise. But life likes to throw sometimes a very horrible curveball, and they get into a car accident with Ramona behind the wheel, symbolizing her losing control of her life. So there's depression, there's the grief, but also there is guilt. There's also resentment too. I think in the very beginning, resentment with her husband. So now you have depression, resentment, grief, and guilt just holding hands, perform a silly little ritual to summon the elder gods. It was the combination of all these things that curated this dark-cladded woman who haunts his family's property. Ramona's psyche is already in shambles. We know this. Being a grieving mother who doesn't really feel like she can even allow herself time or space to properly grieve because she's a mother of two. She needs to be strong for her kids in the end, which I think a lot of parents could actually relate to, especially those who've lost their partner. I've seen reviews and comments comparing the message to Babadook and saying, oh, Babadook did a better job. Again, Babadook did a fantastic job portraying the acceptance of grief, which was its message, because it tells that, grief for someone that we love doesn't just go away. It just becomes a part of your life and who you are. And sometimes there'll be moments where it would be a little bit easier, but then those waves will come back, and all we have to do is just make time to honor it, and just feel those emotions. These two incidents are so different. The mother was, like, for example, in Babadook, she was pregnant and wasn't the one driving when the incident happened. She didn't have the guilt of feeling like she took her husband's life, but she did have survivor's guilt. That is definite. And the protagonist from Babadook, her son didn't really know the father enough to really process his absence, as opposed to Ramona's kids, who've had the pleasure of having a wonderful dad and now have to deal with the fact that he is gone. Which each, of course, in each incidents, they're entitled to their own grief. So the comparative or the comparison isn't really necessary, because like our own drama and pain and how we deal with it is uniquely our own, and I think that's what this movie was trying to like convey. So the responsibility of being a strong-headed mother is very overbearing. Now add the fact that during the beginning of the film, the power is out, Ramona's cell phone is completely dies out, and her car is just not operational. This is even extrapolated more the fact that they just live in a farm in the middle of nowhere, away from the nearest town, definitely from their family and friends. This just like further kind of like builds up Ramona's loneliness and isolation. Her pain is his constant presence, but she has no one to talk to, no one to help her. She can't reach out to her parents, to her family. She feels like she has to masquerade being okay despite wanting to crumble and just have an ugly cry and maybe not even exist anymore, which is horrible. Emotional pain, anyone who's ever felt that strong, very like constant presence lingering in their minds and bodies understand why Ramona was praying for strength. And I think that's why I saw it so differently, because I can relate to not like her incidents, but I just like that initial pain and wanting it to kind of go away and not knowing what to do with it. The woman in the yard is essentially Ramona's inner demon. That's only objective is to tear down whatever remains of the mother's defenses by eliciting some false narrative that life for her children would be better off without her, which obviously isn't true. Anyone who ever had to grieve for a loved one that claimed their life, they know that this is not true. But unfortunately, what can you do? The woman even goes to extreme measures where she distorts a mother's perspective by showing her reality in the form of photos, displaying of her children older, accomplished, and even happy. Yes, this of course is sad. It's supposed to elicit that sad motion, because like I was freaking crying. I didn't want that option for her or anyone. But I saw some posts that felt like this movie condoned suicide. And I can understand why they feel like that, because it is such a tough subject matter, but that's what horror movies do well, and kind of like discussing or explaining. But the reality of the situation is that unfortunately it does happen. Whether it's written in the movie or not, it happens, and it's heartbreaking. This is a tale that explains that not everyone survives their emotional or mental pain, and I felt like the pieces were completely stacked against Ramona. I'm sure if she still lived in the city where she had friends and family that could visit her, she would maybe have had that help that she required. Maybe the story would have ended differently. Who really knows? And I think that's the whole point of it. It's sad that in the end, Ramona feels like the only way out was self-harm. And she does this in hopes of protecting her family, because even like during the film, there's even like glimpses of like horrifying hallucinations of Ramona harming her kids, her own kids. It's like it was like a potential bleak prophecy that might have come to fruition the more she succumbed to her pain and depression. And yes, like I felt like, I don't know, it's cathartic. I enjoy the movie and don't think the movie condones suicide, but obviously that's my own opinion. I think it was a way to open that discussion that these things happen and we should discuss it without degrading the victims, because I've seen even comments on you on Instagram or YouTube about like anyone, like whether it's a YouTuber or someone who commits self harm, they'll say stuff like, "Oh, they're cowards who took the way out." That's just not constructive. That is not true, and like it downplays the person's pain and also the family member's pain. Like, could we just stop that nonsense? Just be kind to those who are grieving. Let's try to reach out to friends if we have the energy to, and just let them know how much they're loved. Like, just popping in. Sometimes I just like to tell my friend, "Hey, I'm at your corner if you ever need me." For anyone who's ever felt like life would be better off without them, I need you to know that that isn't true. I know right now it's hard to kind of like listen to some stranger on the internet, but please entrust in me that you being here right now is better for everyone, for this world, for your family and friends. You existing right now makes this place beautiful. Even if you can't feel it or see it yet, just know you being here right now is amazing. Don't give up, please. And don't be afraid to reach out to a friend. You can even write a little comment and, we can talk. You're never too much. Okay, sorry. I get very, very emotional about this topic. Get back to my little goofy self. I apologize. My eyes are burning out. Sorry. I don't really know exactly how to end it off in a positive note, but just let me know what your thoughts about the movie is in general in the comments below. And just remember that, of course, oh, my eyes are burning now. Mascara got my eye. That my opinion is just that, a silly little opinion, and it's never a fact. So let's just have a discussion. Let's be open and attentive to others. And thank you so, so much for watching. I hope the coffee, tea, or bubble tea you have today tastes the best yet, and that you have a day you absolutely deserve. Ciao, ciao.